Hi, guys. It's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. All right. We had a great stream yesterday in OJ. I'm not hopeful today will be just as good, but yesterday was really good. I have this lawyer that comes in to Big Dog all the time. He's not a criminal lawyer. Um, he's a workers' comp lawyer. But I was talking to him for a while tonight. He's trying to drink his beer, and I'm like, oh, and then you know what happened in OJ? But hey, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
And that plant that the glove and the knit cap were under appears more full on the photographs than it appeared at the time of the jury view. Would you agree with that?
It appeared about the same to me, perhaps. Appeared about the same.
Appeared about the same to you?
Yes.
All right. Let me see if I can get one of the exhibits right. I asked Mr. Douglas to put 56A on.
And he did an excellent job.
Assault. That's assault.
You folks are determined to make today exciting. All right, thank you, counsel.
Is it possible that the secretary can step down?
Yes, why don't you take the pointer there, Detective?
With regard to 56A, a couple of questions over here. The plant that we're talking about, the photos that we're talking about, is I guess depicted in 56. Is that the same one there in 56C?
56C?
Yeah.
No, I believe it's below that.
All right, well, let's look. Okay, let's look then at 56I. Depicted in 56I, is that correct? Right here.
Appears to be, yes.
All right, and in that connection, what is depicted in 56I appears to be some dark object and what appears to be perhaps a glove. And is this photograph 56I for identification with a 103 mark there on, Your Honor? Is that a fair and accurate portrayal of the way you first saw this cap and glove on that particular day?
It's in the general area, but I don't believe it's in the exact location I observed.
Had this cap and glove at some point been moved that morning?
I believe the glove was.
And was it moved after Mr. Goldman's body was moved?
Yes, I believe so.
Did you ever write a report indicating that the glove had been moved at all?
No.
Were you aware at the time that the glove?
Oh, Bill, I got big plans. I heard your text message, and I was looking at a bunch of stuff.
Had been moved?
Not at the time, no.
When did you become aware of it? When the trial started?
No, when I observed the photograph with the glove in a different position.
When you observed it in a different position, why didn't you write a report at that time?
So I don't need to write a report. I have the photographs.
But you did not write a report?
I didn't observe it being moved. I had no personal knowledge of it being moved. All I have the photographs. And for my certain purposes, they spoke for themselves.
All right, now you tell us the other day that you felt when evidence had been moved, the best procedure would be to try and document that if you could, of how and why it had been moved. Is that a correct statement?
And the documentation, in my mind, is the photographs.
All right, and so, and they are. Well, I'm not finished with the witness. I'm not finished with this. So with regard to, so that we're clear, with regard to 56I and 103, there's never a report written about it being moved. Is that right?
There's no report.
Okay. With regard to the envelope that's depicted in 56J, in the course of your looking at photographs, did you ascertain that it also had been moved at some point?
Yes,
And then, but I'd be correct in assuming there's no report with regard to that item. Is that correct?
same situation.
All right. Now, this plant that we were talking about here in 56I, did your testimony that this photograph, 56I, which was taken, I presume, somewhere around June 13th in the early morning hours, is a
I
fair
am Bill
representation of how
Henderson.
that plant looked at that time? Is that correct?
That's a close-up view of the plant. Perhaps a fair representation would be one from the back, but I would say so. Yeah.
Well, we have to take
For what we have, yeah.
this is what I have. All right. And so, based upon what I have here, is that a fair representation of the way that plant looked?
Based upon what you have.
All right. Now, when you're out there on that Sunday, the day of the jury view, does that look to you about the same fullness with regard to that plant as you saw that day?
Once again, I would like to see a shot a little farther away. Again, it appears to be about the same. Yeah.
I think it's about the same. I noticed there's some blood splatters on the, apparently blood splatters on that plant. Did you do any testing on those blood splatters?
There were blood spatters everywhere, and not every plant leaf was collected. No,
No, that's not what I asked. I asked you, did you do any testing or have any testing done regarding the blood splatters on this particular plant depicted in 56I?
I don't believe that was done.
All right, that's all I asked. I mean, well, I got it. For the record, we're now looking at 45A. I just want to call your attention briefly to 45A, people's 45A identification. And I want to ask you just a couple of questions regarding, let's start with 45D. You see 45D here? There appear to be a pair of white shoes, I guess on the landing above where the Simpson's body was, and a pair of black shoes. First of all, let's take the white shoes. Do you know whose shoes those were standing there?
I could hazard a guess.
Well, let's see. You were out there that day and you saw who was wearing white. Who do you think the shoes were?
I believe they belong to the photographer, Mr. Rokar.
Okay.
I believe so.
All right. And now these black shoes are not very descriptive, but can you tell us whose shoes those are?
I believe they're mine.
So you would recognize your own shoes.
I believe I'm wearing them.
Same shoes. Let's say I'd like to mark those and evidence. No, I'm kidding. So at any rate, these are your shoes and these are Rokar shoes. Is that correct?
Yes,
Best you can recall?
yes.
All right, I'm gonna have one more. And you are aware, are you not, that you cannot always see footprints with the naked eye? You're aware of that, right?
I'm sure they can always win.
You are aware that you cannot always see footprints with the naked eye. You aware of that?
It would depend on lighting and angle, but it's certainly possible that you might not see all of them. Yes.
All right. And if I might, we're now referring to 56, 54, People's 54 game. Just want to ask you one question about 54. Do you recognize this shoe standing right here adjacent to the plant we talked about earlier? Recognize that black shoe?
It's the same type as I have, but I don't know if that's mine.
It's not a police issue shoe, is it?
Would not be.
All right. So is that your shoe?
As I said, it may be because I have those types of shoes.
And so, Your Honor, for the record, we're looking at People's 54-2, and that shoe is standing right in the grouting, right where there's some blood in the grouting.
We
adjacent
deserve
to
it.
the plant where we can see the cap and the glove. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
That shoe appears to be a man's shoe,
Appears to be.
and you don't know whether it's your shoe or not.
No.
But it's similar to the same shoes you wear.
That's
Right?
correct.
All right. Now, there's some questions about this rear gate Monday. And we'll refer now, Your Honor, to 53A. You have previously described for us something about these little cards and how these numbers are placed on various exhibits. I want you to look first of all at 53B, and I see 115 and 116. How are those numbers placed there, if you recall?
Those are placed by the criminals.
All right, and the criminal selects a particular number, then there's a photograph taken of that particular, whatever they're seeking to pick there, is that correct?
Yes.
And so that we're clear for perspective for the jurors, this 115 and 116, is this the rear gate?
Yes.
And there's also a 117, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, in the course of your investigation in this case, there was another 115 and 116 numbers somewhere at that scene, is that correct?
I don't know. There may have been.
Okay. And then you may want to use both of these. Now I want to show you, and I can show you both of them at the same time if you like. Okay, go for the record so we're clear. Mr. Douglas is safely holding 53A. So I want you to look at 53A. I want you to look at the numbers. See this 115, 116, 117, which you told us is the rear gated Bundy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now I want you to look.
Yeah, if he passed out at one of my parties, open canvas.
Look at this particular exhibit, which is 48A, etc. And you see this 115 here,
Yes, you do.
which is 48G, which purports to be a blood drop. Now, this 115 here, what is that 115?
That's a photo identification number apparently put down by the photographer and the criminals.
So let's see, are you saying we have two 115s?
I believe these were taken on different days.
No, that's not what I asked you. Do we have two 115s?
That's pretty obvious to me.
All right, so this 115 here is a blood drop, is that correct?
Right.
And the 115 back here is allegedly a blood drop on the rear gate, is that correct?
That appears to be that way.
All right, and there's a 117. Now, is 117 allegedly a blood drop that was collected supposedly at the rear of the residence?
Yes.
And that was placed there by the photographer?
I'm assuming that is.
Well, you recognize that little card, don't you?
That's the type of card a photographer would put down, yes.
All right, now, and over here, if we look at 117, there's a 117 here with regard to the fence, is that correct?
Yes, there is.
Now, was that a separate photographer or was it just a mistake made? How do we have the same numbers?
2 dates, 2 different times, 2 different photographers.
Let's see if I understand this. You mean to tell me that if you take photographs on one day, let's say on June 13th, use 115, 116, 117, you come back on, let's say, July 3rd, use the same numbers? Is that
No,
acceptable procedure, sir?
no, I don't mean to tell you that, but you may want to ask that of the man who did it.
All right, but you're telling us about separate dates, so you're the investigator. I'm just asking you at this point. I don't have him yet. So would that be acceptable procedure in Los Angeles Police Department?
Objection, Your Honor, he's
procedures?
just indicated he doesn't know.
I'm going to ask the question.
And counsel's continuing to ask questions of this witness, and he has already indicated he doesn't
So
know.
what's the objection? Foundation?
Foundation, thank you, Your Honor.
I'd like to ask a foundational question.
The foundational questions.
So, with regard to how these numbers are given out by the photographer, it's true, is it not, that if one were a photographer, and one used a 115, a 116, and a 117 on June 13th, and in a later date, you use sequential numbers. You would start with 118, 119, 120. Isn't that correct?
I can't say that. I don't know what his reasoning was.
Well, you've been a homicide investigator for some 20 years, have you not?
Your objection is argumentative.
I want to ask him a question. Have you ever, in your
Objection, Your
career,
Honor.
Overruled, Counsel.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the court's ruling.
have you ever, in your career, ever seen a situation where the photographer uses the same numbers for different pictures at the same crime scene?
Objection irrelevant,
Overruled.
beyond the scope of this witness's knowledge.
Overruled.
I have no idea. I don't recall. I may have in 20 years. I don't know.
Well, do you know or not, sir?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't recall seeing that. It's not to say that it hasn't happened before.
But if
Uh,
okay, correct.
Again, the person to ask would be the photographer. He may have a reason for doing this. I don't know.
Well, now, as the investigating officer in this case, man in overall charge at Bundy, right? Did you ever ask him why he numbered the same numbers for different blood drops at the same scene? Did you ever ask him that?
I don't believe that ever came up.
Well, thank you. Now, the glove at Bundy that we were looking at under those under that particular plant, was that a right or left-handed glove?
Left-handed.
And you've had occasion to examine that glove, have you not? You've looked at it?
I looked at it briefly at the scene and was told not to touch it by the criminalist. Aside from that, I think the next time I saw it was right here in court.
All right. Have you ever had occasion to look at that glove and make a determination of whether or not there are any cuts on the finger, outside finger portion of that glove?
I did not personally know.
You never looked at that?
No.
As an investigator, did you ever have any interest in looking at that?
I would have an interest in the criminalist looking at that and when it was examined.
And did the criminal look at it as far as you know?
I believe it was examined, yes.
And you've seen some reports in that connection, have you not?
Yes.
And there are no cuts on that left glove, are there?
Objection, objection.
He knows?
Sustained. Sustained.
All right. When Ms. Clark showed you that glove, I guess last week here in court, did you look at it then?
Yes.
Did you see any cuts on the outside of this left glove, left-handed glove, which reportedly found at Bundy? Did you see any?
No.
Objection, there's no opportunity.
Overruled.
Now, with regard to the eyeglasses in the envelope, and maybe we approach this for a minute on this area.
Sure.
No, John, not yet. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're getting there. I mean, it has to come up. We've already been at this for what, 100 and... We are on video 114 of 400 some. 493. Okay, 500. So we're a fifth there. I love a fifth, by the way. Anyway, we're going to get to it soon. Has to be. And we're going to get to Furman soon. We have to be. We are February 23rd. So once we start getting into March, I think that's when it's going to start getting better. Yo, from this angle, it confused the heck out of me. Doesn't she look like the forensic supervisor for the LAPD? The one we had way back at the preliminary hearing, talking about the hairs. She looks just like her from the back.
Council, Mr. Carpenter.
I'd like to place before you, exhibit number 32. This purports to be the envelope in a bag inside of plastic that was allegedly found at the Bundy location. You recognize that envelope?
Yes,
And you recall looking at that envelope at some point?
yes,
On or about June 13th?
yes.
Did you look inside at the eyeglasses at that time?
I peered inside an opening and observed some eyeglasses, yes.
All right. And when you peered inside and looked at the eyeglasses at that time, you saw the eyeglasses intact, did you?
I could make out that they were eyeglasses. I couldn't make out that they were necessarily intact.
All right. Do you see the eyeglasses had lenses there or somewhere close by?
I believe I did observe a lens.
All right. Did you observe one lens, two lenses, or what?
It was probably only one. It just appeared to me to be a pair of prescription glasses.
Prescription glasses? And you saw prescription glasses with one lens or two lenses?
No, I observed one of the lenses. The other one, because of the angle I was looking at, I don't believe I could observe it.
All right.
But I may be wrong. I just recall peering in and opening in the envelope and observing what appeared to be prescription glasses.
All right. Why don't you take a look in that envelope now? First of all, look in the envelope and see whether or not you're able to see the lenses. Lens or lenses.
No, I'm not able to.
All right. Let's turn it over. When you turn the container over, the package over, do you see a lens
I don't
or lenses
remember.
now?
There's one lens in the plastic bag.
All right. Look carefully. Do you see another lens there?
I think there was a dog that was a witness once. Maybe.
No,
All right. Now, do you have a report when it was booked of how many lenses there were in these glasses when this was first booked?
the report on the glasses should be contained within the property report when it was booked by the criminalist.
All right. Can you take a look at that? You have that here today?
Yes.
I'll hold this. Can you look at that and tell us whether or not it indicates how many lenses were in these glasses?
It does not indicate.
Does that indicate? Now, if only one lens was in the glasses, wouldn't that be something that you would note in one of your reports?
No, it would not.
Or you wouldn't note that at all?
Those glasses were kept sealed in that envelope for a reason.
Well, was it you testified or somebody testified that they were torn open so someone could look inside? Did you so testify?
Not torn open. I testified that there was an opening
All right. And an
where I could
opening-
observe the glasses inside. I didn't touch it, and it was maintained in that manner.
And when it was opened so that you could look inside, how many lenses did you see?
I did not open it to look inside.
All right. But at any rate, the report you've just seen doesn't indicate how many lenses were there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, sir, while you were at the scene there at Bundy, after you returned from Rockingham on the morning of June 13th, there came a time when press arrived at the scene. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And you saw the press out there, and they were taking video pictures. Did you not see that?
Yes.
And I now want to, Your Honor, with Your Honor's permission, mark as defendant's next in order a videotape, and I want to ask the officer some questions regarding that videotape. Mr. Harris, what's the next number?
1043.
1043, Your Honor. I believe it's queued up, and I want to ask.
I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to show you some videotape. You should keep in mind in viewing the videotape that there may be some distortion based upon the length of the lens that is involved in taking. You should take that in consideration in regarding the depth perception with the video. Thank you.
And if the court's permission, I'll be asking some questions during this, and we'll stop it at certain points, Your Honor.
All right.
Now, Detective Blaine, can you tell us, stop there, please. Can you tell us and identify those gentlemen there and tell us where this is taken, where this video is taken from?
Yes, I am pictured there to the right.
You're the man with no shirt on?
That's
I'm gonna
correct.
strike that. You're the man with no jacket on.
Well,
I was
yes.
thinking about no hair and it came out wrong. The man with
Thank you.
no coat on.
No jacket.
All right.
The man with his back to us is Lieutenant John Rogers. Behind him, facing us, is Detective Phillips.
That Detective Ron Phillips?
Yes.
There apparently is someone bending over in the street with some kind of container there with kind of light white shoes. Do you see that person?
Yes.
Who is that person?
I believe that's the coroner's investigator, Ratcliffe.
And that's what's her first name? If you recall.
I believe it's Claudine.
That's Claudine Ratcliffe. And would this be a scene of her arrival at 875 Bundy?
Yes.
And as best we can tell, would that be about what time? 9:10 in the morning on June 13th?
Approximately.
Now, is there another person in that photograph that you're able to tell us who it is?
Not with this view.
Okay, well, would you keep looking? So this is about 9:10 in the morning. Mr. Harris, will you continue, please? Now, you stop it there. At this point, you apparently are having a conversation with Claudine Ratcliffe, the
Yes.
coroner's investigator.
Yes.
Are you describing to her what you have there? Is that correct?
Yes.
And I notice you have a clipboard in your hand at that point. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is that clipboard? What is that?
What is it? It's a
I mean,
clipboard.
what do you use it for?
Writing on?
Okay, and is that part of what you do to write your reports, sir?
Yes.
All right, did you write some of those reports in that book before you with that kind of clipboard?
Yes.
All right, let me continue, Mr. Harris. All right, now, those two gentlemen there in the front of the residence, is that Lieutenant Rogers to the right?
Yes.
And is that Ron Phillips, detective on the left?
Yes.
Is Rogers your immediate superior? He's a lieutenant
He was. Yes.
at that time?
Yes.
All right, now what is depicted in this photograph, sir?
This is Detective Phillips in the right of the photo with his back to us. I can't make out the individual.
Up at the top? Well, we'll proceed on. See if you can recognize the person up on the landing. Who is that man on the landing without a coat?
I'm having a hard time seeing it from here. It's me. Okay.
Does that look like you?
Yes.
All right. 20 questions. Now, what are we seeing here? Just the front of the 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
And that yellow tape running around, is that the perimeter that's been placed up?
Yes.
It was taken down about 3:45 in the afternoon?
Yes.
All right, now stop it there. Who are the two people up on the landing there?
That's me again, and the D is the coroner investigator Ratcliffe.
All right, and in the foreground there, out on the sidewalk or whatever, is that Phillips?
I believe so.
All right, we'll continue. You explain to her what you have there at this point?
Yes.
All right, do you notice your hands? Do you have anything on your hands at that point?
No.
All right, you don't have any gloves or anything on, right?
No.
Now, what's depicted in this photograph? Is that one of the bodies now covered with the sheet?
This is looking westerly, and that's looking towards the body of Miss Simpson.
All right, and the lady on the left, where we've now stopped it, is that again the coroner's investigator?
Yes.
All right, we continue on. Are you to the left of her at that point, kind of kneeling down?
To the left in this photo, yes.
Okay. And are you near, where's the body of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson in this particular photograph, so we'll know?
That would be in front of us towards this direction.
All right, in front of us to the east, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, I notice now a vehicle is coming up, it says LA County Coroner on it. You recall that vehicle arriving that morning?
Yes.
And is that the vehicle driven by Ms. Ratcliffe's assistant, Mr. Jacopo?
Yes.
And he arrived at about what time that morning, if you recall?
I believe it was shortly after her, shortly after Ratcliffe, perhaps 10, 15 minutes.
And the man there in the blue with coroner written on the back of his jumpsuit, That's Mr. Jacopo.
Yes,
Let me guess. He's the coroner.
All right, and you saw him arrive sometime about 9:20, 9:25. Is that correct?
I believe so.
All right. Now, when he arrives at the scene, he stops apparently to talk to some particular officer. And I see to the right, that's Lieutenant Rogers. Is that correct?
Yes,
You know the officer he's talking to at that point?
I believe it might be Officer Cummings.
Is he logging in at that point, sir?
Yes,
All right, we'll make percent. That's also Detective Phillips again?
yes.
Is that Miss Reckloff again?
Yes,
That's the front of the Bundy residence again?
yes.
I think this is the first time we heard the court reporter typing. Is that the court reporter?
Is that a long view of the residence there at both, I guess, 873 and 875?
Yes, looking northwest direction.
All right, now at this point, there are two men there. We'll stop it. Is that you talking with Lieutenant Rogers?
Yes,
Okay. If you know, the body's been moved sequentially at this point.
I don't believe so.
All right, continue on. Again, that's a view taken from the street, somewhere across the street. Is that correct?
Yes, appears to be.
All right. Is that the sergeant you described for us earlier?
Yes,
The LAPD Sergeant Palmer?
yes,
In the background is the body of Mr. Cole Brown Simpson.
yes.
I just feel like he shouldn't be allowed to see these pictures. Like,
Now, there's somebody who just stepped down. Apparently, you're stepping over something. Is that over Mr. Cole Brown Simpson's
Yes,
body?
it is.
Now, do you notice something? Do you have something on your hands now?
Yes, I'm wearing plastic rubberized gloves.
All right, where'd you get those gloves from, if you know?
I carry them with me.
All right, and just refresh your recollection that you were wearing some gloves at some point that day.
Yes,
All right, you're stepping over where the body's still in place there. Is that correct?
that's correct.
The coroner's not moved the body yet.
That's correct.
All right, and all right, we'll move it on. Now, stop it there. I noticed that up on that landing, the two coroner's representatives were standing there. Is that correct?
Yes,
Do you see the shoes of Miss Radcliffe?
yes,
And to her left or east of her, the gentleman, Mr. Jacopo, apparently has his left foot resting on the railing there. Is that correct? You see that?
looks to be the foot is on the wall. I don't
All right,
know if it's on the railing.
let's show it on. Maybe we can see it clear. Left foot is resting on something, right?
Yes, appears to be.
All right. See there?
Yes,
stop there.
yes, I do.
Where's his foot resting on?
It went from the wall to the railing.
All right. So, all right. Now you're bending down. Are you taking some kind of measurements at that point?
Yes,
They're standing there at that point above you. Is that correct?
yes,
it just feels like he's violating her all over again. I don't know. Feels creepy.
You're about to step into the area where Mr. Goldman's body was found.
that's correct.
Now you had no coverings on your shoes at that point, did you?
That's correct.
All right, again, that's you in the foreground. Now
Yes.
let's stop it there. There's a gentleman we've been talking about with a kind of a white jacket on with white hair. Who is that individual?
It's Mr. Rokar, the photographer.
And he's a gentleman who took a lot of these photographs here.
Yes.
He's the man we have to ask the questions about why we have duplicate numbers. Same guy?
No, I believe there were 3 different photographers employed on those 2 different dates and the criminalist. So if I wanted an answer, I'd probably talk to all 4.
All four, I'd have to talk to all four?
The criminalist and the three photographers.
Okay. All right, but that's Rokar, right?
That's Mr. Rokar on the
Okay,
center,
fine.
yes.
Maybe continue. Who's he talking to? Who's that to his left?
I'll have to wait till he stands up again. I believe it looked like Phillips.
All right. Now, it's apparently a long view from across the street. Do you see your back there?
Yes.
Rokar is somewhere near you? Okay, stop it there. We see inside the yellow tape there, that's Lieutenant Rogers. Is that correct?
I can't tell whether or not he's inside the tape. I can't see because of the band at the bottom.
Okay, well, Rogers is somewhere in the foreground. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who's that man with the kind of sandy hair, if you know?
That's Assistant Lab Director Steve Johnson,
Steve Johnson. Who's the employee? Lab director for whom?
the LAPD Scientific Investigation Division.
All right, when did he come to the scene?
I believe it was probably shortly before for this video.
Okay, have you seen his name on the log before?
I believe it is on the log, yes.
Can you tell us, refresh your recollection as to what time he may have arrived?
No,
All right, you don't know?
I don't recall. I
right.
didn't make a point of checking. I suppose I could look at the log.
You do recall he was out there that day, is that right?
Yes.
All right, we'll continue on, sir. And stop it there. Who's that gentleman there?
Which gentleman?
The one with the,
Hey, that was a good job. Did you notice that? He didn't belabor the point of what time he got there and make him look through all useless information. Good job. Good job.
you can't see, the one to the left of Mrs. Jacopo who's in the blue jumpsuit. Can you back it up for a minute, Mr. Terry? Do you recall who that was at that point?
The one below the
No.
man with the.
Can you look up? I'll show you. The one right there, one right behind Jacopo in the coroner's office, that gentleman. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure it'll help you from this angle. You tell us who that is. Mr. Rogers, Steve Johnson, who that is?
No.
All right, we may resume your seat. Thank you. Mr. Harris, please continue. At this point, is this the plastic sheet that you were talking to us about,
Yes.
which Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson was placed on her back as much as possible in a supine position? Is that correct?
Well, she was placed on the plastic. She was in full rigor mortis, so that couldn't be a complete supine position.
I've said as much as possible in a supine position, sir, as opposed to being lying
Well,
face
she was
down.
placed on it. I don't know what you mean by as much as possible.
Well, be due to the rigor that you've described for us. All right, stop there. And you recognize the people in this photograph, do you not?
Yes, there's myself, and
The man in the dark suit is whom?
I believe it's Phillips,
All right, and to his left is whom?
and that's Rokar.
And in the foreground here, do you know who this is?
I really can't tell.
Can't tell?
No.
And to the right there, bending over, you know who that is? Isn't that Miss,
I can't see, but it possibly is Ratcliffe.
Miss Ratcliffe? All right, continue, please, Mr. Harris. Now, can you see now who that gentleman is in the foreground?
No.
Okay, continue on, please. Still can't tell?
No.
All right, we'll continue. This is the removal of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's body. Her body was moved first.
Yes.
All right. Now, again, is that you in and around the scene where the body was?
Yes.
And at that point, we see the two coroner's assistants. Is that correct?
Yes.
In the foreground there, is that criminalist trainee Mazzola, Mazzola?
Appears to be, yes.
All right. Continue on, please. Are you stepping now? Who is that coming through there now? With no
Miss-
who is that?
Mr. Fung.
And is he one of the criminalists?
Yes.
Stop it. You see he has nothing on his hands?
Yes.
And he's carrying, you back that up a minute, Mr. Harris? stop it there. He's carrying a bag or something in his hand.
Yes.
You see that? So that we're clear who's here in this particular photograph, the female coroner is represented, and her name?
Her name?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Radcliffe, and we have Fung, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, in the foreground we have Jacopo.
Yes.
Okay, and further out, because the perspective is Mazzola, is that right?
Yes. Appears to be.
Okay, to her right is Rokar, the photographer.
Yes.
All right, and then because of perspective, can you tell who that is with that dark suit there behind Rokar?
It's the lower right-hand corner?
Yeah, right-hand corner there, the dark blue suit. Left behind.
I believe it might be Officer Carson Pierce.
Carson Pierce?
Yes.
Perhaps we'll see another photograph. Continue, Mr. Harris, please, sir. Now, can you see that person with the sandy hair? That's Steve Johnson, though?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Who's that man there? In the
That's
foreground?
Detective Tippin.
Mr. Tippin, he's one of the ones who took the statements you told us about earlier, Tippin?
He's one of the detectives who went to the Goldman residence.
All right. Tippin and Carr?
Yes.
All right, sir. Is this Mr. Goldman's body this time? Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
He's already been moved out from the small area?
That's correct.
All right, now stop it right there, Mr. Harris. This man over the left who was kind of rubbing his brow a moment ago, is that the criminalist, Mr. Fung?
Yes, he's on the left.
You notice he still doesn't have any gloves on? You notice that?
He doesn't appear to.
All right. And again, you previously described the individual. Is that you pointing?
Yes.
All right. Continue, Mr. Harris, please. Did you ever use more than one pair of gloves that day, if you recall?
He was touching the bag with the glasses in it, but he never pulled the glasses out.
I may have. I had gloves on for a while, had them off for a while, had them on. I may have. If I'd taken those off, I couldn't have put them back on, so I'd have put a different pair on.
You have that written down anywhere? Is that in your notes?
I took my gloves off?
Yes, that you changed gloves at the scene.
No.
Some of these questions about the logs, wonder what the jury are thinking. So, like, I thought that question that he just asked him was ridiculous. No, he didn't write down, I took my gloves off, I put my gloves back on. I didn't keep a log of it. Maybe he didn't have his gloves on or off when he wasn't supposed to, whatever. But the question about, did you write that down? It's just ridiculous to me. And I'm wondering what the jury thinks about just that, just that.
I think that's it.
It's 4:30, Your Honor.
Indeed it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't discuss it amongst yourselves or perform any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you regarding the case. And we will be in session on matters regarding the case, but we will not require your presence on Friday. So we'll see you back here on Monday night.
I require your presence on Friday, guys. Don't listen to the judge. I just want you to know something. And I'm not going to tell you what, but I picked my next case after OJ. And it is epic. It will be way better than OJ. It will be epic.
9 o'clock. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice weekend. I don't see Mr. Cochran. Okay. All right. People represented by Mr. Darden, Ms. Lewis, Mr. Gordon. All right, we have two matters on the calendar this morning. First, we have a motion by the prosecution asking for the court to direct or to allow a 402 hearing regarding any impeachment evidence that will be presented with regards to witness Mark Furman. Who wishes to address that motion on behalf of the people?
I will, Your Honor.
All right, good morning, Ms. Lewis.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, back in January, the court ruled on the people's motion in limine with regard to 3 alleged incidents in Detective Furman's past. Of those 3 incidents, the court excluded 2 and ruled that the defense could indeed cross-examine with regard to the Kathleen Bell allegations. The court, it was my impression, based on both your written ruling as well as your comments, Your Honor, that you were ruling in that regard based on several things. One of those things that seemed to weigh predominantly was that there were some circumstances of Detective Furman's involvement, or contact, I should say, with the defendant and the victim in this case, which seemed to cause the court to feel that that was relevant. I want to just briefly address that because I did not do so before, did not have an opportunity before now. First, the court noted that Detective Furman, when he was a patrol officer, did respond to the scene of a domestic violence dispute between the two back in 1985. The court also noted that Detective Furman chronicled that visit in '89 when called upon to do so by the city attorney's office. And the court further noted that Detective Furman responded to the scene of the homicide that happened on June 12th with regard to the same victim. I want to make the point, Your Honor, that it is not unusual. In fact, it is highly common for patrol officers within this city in every area to respond on multiple occasions to the same location for repeat incidences
Part of the prosecution team.
of domestic violence between the same couple. So that is not something that is at all unusual. In fact, it's more the usual. And I know the court has seen cases. I've certainly handled cases where the officers have told me that this was not the first time they responded to that particular scene. In addition, Your Honor, the fact that Detective Furman responded as a homicide detective in 1994 is not of any moment either when one considers that the homicide unit at West LA consists of only 4 homicide detectives, all of whom respond to every homicide. There were only 14 total homicides in West LA division last year, so that there is not the greater amount of detectives as is present in other parts of the city. So the fact that Detective Furman responded to the homicide scene is of no moment because everyone who worked homicide, every detective, responded to that scene last June. The other point I want to make, Your Honor, in addition to making the point that it is very common for officers to respond to the same scene on multiple occasions, is that Detective Furman did not act affirmatively in any of those contacts, either of those 2 contacts or in the request from the city attorney's office.
There's a bunch of them that we see. There are. I don't see them in court now, so I can't remember their names. But so the major points when they have to go up against Cochran or anybody, then Darden and Marcia are going to handle that. But these other things, like the evidence and just the smaller motions about what they're doing with witnesses and things like that, they don't have time to handle. So the other attorneys have to handle the smaller things.
In 1985, he was responding to a radio call. In 1989, he was responding to a request by the city attorney's office. And only with regard to the 1985 incident, that wasn't even a contact between the defendant and the victim. And in 1994, he was responding to a supervisor's call, Detective Phillips, to go out to the scene. So we don't have a situation where, and even if we had a situation that I'm about to describe in a moment, it would be commendable, but we don't have that here. We don't have the situation where we have patrol officers who are aware of a particular household having this kind of problem and go on their own volition to try and keep things calm to prevent future violence. So in this instance, we have those couple of cursory contacts, or the the one in 1985, which was rather cursory, the 1989, which was not even contact, and then the 1994. And the probative value and relevance of those put together is simply very, very slight. Now, against that backdrop, Your Honor, the people are moving by this motion. It is our attempt to provide a vehicle to the court, for the court to preserve the integrity of this trial. We are asking that the people be allowed an opportunity to respond, to be heard in a 402 hearing before whoever is going to be cross-examining Detective Furman comes out with racially blasphemous types of allegations. Now, it is true, Your Honor, that as the court, I'm sure, has probably instructed this jury, though I haven't seen it yet, questions asked by lawyers are not evidence. And the jurors are supposed to disregard any questions asked by a lawyer when the objection to that question is sustained. But in this situation, Your Honor, we're not talking about the vast majority of types of questions which are asked of a witness. The vast majority of those questions are simply questions that have to do with the testimony of that witness or other witnesses or of evidence in the case. They're not questions which carry with them an assumption
I
that
don't know who
jurors
that
are
is.
likely
No
to
idea.
take personally or have the potential for jurors to be personally highly offended by. And that's what makes this particular type of questioning particularly volatile and emotional. Now, it does not mean because jurors hear this kind of questioning that they're going to go off the deep end. It does mean that they will have planted a cloud and a bitter taste in their mouth with regard to this witness, because frankly, that an allegation of racism is one of the most abhorrent things that anyone can say about someone. And it will cause these jurors to remember that and will cloud their perception of this witness. And all we're basically asking for is for an opportunity for the court to decide, not the defense attorney, but for the court to decide whether or not an area is appropriate to go into.
How would you propose we do that?
Well, the most reasoned and orderly method of doing that would be to have the defense disclose what it is they plan to cross-examine Detective Furman about, what incidents. I'm sure they know.
At what point?
Well, we could do that soon. We could set that for a special hearing well in advance of Detective Furman's testimony, and that would be the most orderly and expeditious manner of doing it. It would allow the court as well as counsel opportunity to reflect and think it over. The only
Doesn't that also rob the defense of the tactical advantage of surprise during cross-examination,
Your Honor,
which is one of the fun parts of cross-examination?
well, Ms. Clark makes the excellent point that it is only with respect to racial allegations that we're making this request of, and it is in the extraordinary circumstances of this case where this police officer has been castigated in the press as being a racist, and much of that occurred, some of that occurred well before this jury was sequestered. We are in a highly extraordinarily unusual situation with regard to the allegations brought against this police officer, given the notoriety of this case and the way that the allegations have been continued to be set forth and spawned by the defense and the media. So we're in a very unique situation with regard to these particular types of allegations against Detective Furman. Certainly, if they have other impeachment available to them, there's no reason why that can't be handled in the normal manner that we're all accustomed to here in the criminal justice system. But there has to be some orderliness imposed upon this trial, Your Honor, in that regard. The court's rulings with regard to Detective Furman are going to be watched by the world, because the world's going to be watching his testimony. And your rulings, Your Honor, are going to have a significant effect upon the public perception of how witnesses are treated in the criminal justice system. I want to make sure, Your Honor, that Your Honor has an opportunity to make sure that this trial does continue to go forth in a manner that reflects integrity and a search for the truth, and not some kind of gamesmanship or character assassination on the part of the defense for the witnesses who testify.
Ms. Lewis, let me ask you this. Let's assume that I view your request as being extraordinary to have a 402 hearing regarding impeachment evidence so far in advance. what other vehicle would you recommend to the court, assuming that I feel that a special hearing for that purpose is not appropriate at this point?
Your Honor, certainly the court could order counsel to approach outside of the jury's presence if it's during the examination, or it could be right before Detective Furman testifies at all. But at the latest possible opportunity, if the court is concerned in that regard, certainly to approach before actually asking the question.
But under under the normal discovery, isn't it required that the defense provide you at the time of cross-examination with any reports or statements that they intend on cross-examining on? Isn't that required under the laws of discovery?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the court.
Are you then put on notice as to what it is the defense is going to cross-examine on?
Your Honor, my understanding of the law is that one has to have a good faith belief that facts exist prior to cross-examining someone about it. That can be done without actually having a report in hand. So I don't feel at all confident that we will receive reports that reflect everything that the defense intends to cross-examine about. In addition, it's our position, having studied the little law available in this particular area under Prop 115, that impeaching statements of the witness per se are not necessarily discoverable. There seems to be, if you look at it as Zaga in combination with the code itself, there seems to be a distinction between impeaching statements of a witness himself or herself and rebuttal witnesses that would be called to impeach. In addition, Your Honor, the court is apparently treating this as a discovery issue, and I don't think it can be treated as such. That may be one aspect to it, but our concern is really under 352 of the Evidence Code, and that's what we're trying to address with this motion, and that's what we want the court to, how we want the court to address it in any subsequent rulings, and if the court is inclined to do as we are asking of it. May I continue for a moment?
Please.
Your Honor, I do want to point out an additional case. I did cite a lot of law, of course, in our brief having to do with collateral impeachment. And among other things, this is an area of collateral impeachment. This does not directly impeach the officer's observations or testimony. It's only by way of a circuitous route in terms of credibility. And the court does have broad discretion and wide latitude in curtailing this type of cross-examination without any violation to the defendant's confrontation rights. One of the additional cases that I provided the court with was the Schilling case toward the end of our brief, and that was a second district case which made reference to the Anthony P. case, indicating that while there is a certain latitude in cross-examination of a witness, the constitutional right to confront and cross-examine adverse witnesses does not include the right to ask wholly speculative questions ungrounded in factual predicate, even when posed in the quest to discredit a witness. That's what the Schilling court held, and it prevented, in that case, the defense from pursuing a line of questioning having to do with the motive of a witness to have committed the crime itself. The allegation from the defense there was that the witness actually committed the killing or killed the victim, who happened to be the witness's girlfriend, and not the defendant. So the defense thought they should be able to pursue a line of questioning talking about that motive. The trial court said no, it was sheer speculation because there was no evidence of that. So they should not be allowed to pursue that line of questioning. And the Court of Appeal heartily agreed. And here you're.
Yeah, but there is evidence this time. But, I mean, I agree with her. I agree with, I'm trying to think of this legally and not just logically. If they're allowed to present him as a racist, and I mean, that would be damning to any testimony, any evidence that he found. It just would. Legally, though, are they allowed to do that? I mean, I don't think they should be, because it doesn't have anything to do with, the facts of what he found. But it does, though. I don't know. I have no idea.
Your Honor, we still have the situation, and it's not just the way that people have framed it, but it is in reality the situation that there is no evidence that Detective Furman moved any evidence or planted any evidence. planted the glove at Rockingham. The defense still
That's
has
true.
not presented any evidence in that regard. And while the court has looked at this after that as more of a credibility issue, that is still an important consideration under 352 in assessing the probative value of allowing cross-examination on the area of race, because its probative value is further diminished and weakened by the fact that there is no evidence supporting the defense's underlying theory. I just want to reiterate again, Your Honor, the unique and unusual circumstances of this case. I'm not aware of any situation where we've had these types of allegations against a police officer who has recovered important evidence in a double murder that's being reported on worldwide by the press. It's simply a unique set of circumstances. Under these circumstances in particular, it's clear to me that there would be no violation of the defendant's right to confront and cross-examine the witnesses were the court to allow an opportunity, even at sidebar during testimony at the very latest, but even an opportunity sooner than that in a 402 to determine what the court feels is appropriate, so that we don't make frankly a circus out of this trial by way of the testimony of Detective Furman, and so that this trial can focus on what it should be focused on, and that is the ascertainment of truth.
All right. Thank you, counsel. Mr. Bailey?
Please the court, I think this is a revisitation of the rather clear ruling you made when you said the Anthony P case is controlling as mandated by Alaska v. Davis. If the issue is bias, the cross-examination license is broad. And this is not a unique case, nor is this detective the first one that may be in a position to be accused of that. However, and to cut to the quick of this matter, short of giving the prosecution an opportunity to interrupt the cross-examination or preview what it can then warn its witness about. And he won't be surprised as long as the information used is truthful, because he will have been privy to it. Whether counsel knows about it or not is another question. I propose the following. It is, I think, endemic to the conduct of a lawsuit that not only is the judge interested when the world is watching, or when only a few people are watching, in seeing that justice is carried out at the highest level attainable, but also responsible counsel have an obligation not only to the profession and the court, but to the public at large, not to recklessly ask questions or unfairly paint or taint a witness with undeserved accusations. To assist the court in the handling of this delicate matter within the context of this case, I concede that it is. I propose that the defense provide to you in camera, under seal, not to be given to either the press or the prosecution, but to assist you in making rulings from time to time as they may be necessary in cross-examination. Number one, the areas of intended inquiry, and number two, the supporting.
That is not legal. You can't do that. How can he all right, Judge, we're going to give you secret information that no one else can see. We're just going to give you secret information. You What? I can't believe he just said that. I didn't hear it wrong. I heard exactly what he said. He can't do that. What the heck?
Evidence, which is either under subpoena or reasonably expected to be produced in the course of the defense case in the event there is a denial. If there is not a denial, then the need for contradictory evidence evaporates. If there is a denial, I was taught 40 years ago that you don't ask a question unless you have the evidence to back it up in case you get a denial from the witness. And I think that's the rule.
But 40 years ago, they didn't teach you that ex parte with the judge is like not legal?
And ordinarily, that would be sufficient. The remedy would be, if counsel overstepped that line, whoever does this cross-examination, to discipline the lawyer. However, you can't unring the bell. And in order to speed up and permit a reasonable pace of cross-examination, it seems to me one could hardly be more fair than to give the court a helpful preview and have it stop right there. Whether the prosecution later gets its hands on the document, I think would be a showing of manifest necessity, perhaps. But we will be prepared to call the witnesses who will testify to those things which form the basis of the questions. And I think under Alaska v. Davis and its progeny, we can be asked no more.
Thank you, counsel. Ms. Lewis?
Your Honor, the evidence is still subject to a 352 evaluation by the court, and the people should have the opportunity to be heard under 352. That's our great concern here, is the undue prejudice that's likely to arise from planting, given the scant, if any, probative value, from planting the ideas in the jurors' minds when they ask the questioning. I think the people have a right to be present and to be heard to the court, and without having the court unilaterally assess based on defense representations. And I do, although a moment ago I reiterated this is not a discovery hearing, I do want to reinforce what the court mentioned a moment ago, and that is that since Detective Furman is on our witness list and is obviously going to be called as a witness, if there are indeed rebuttal statements from other witnesses whom the defense intends to cross-examine about, we do have the right to those statements. It's only statements made by the detective himself that are directly impeaching in that sense that we may not have the right to. But this is not a situation where the defense has interviewed Detective Furman, come up with impeaching statements, and can hold on to that information. This is a situation, apparently, by what Mr. Bailey has said, where they have gleaned additional witnesses, additional evidence, perhaps. I can't tell from what he said, frankly. But it's certainly a situation where, under the circumstances of this case, the people should be allowed to be heard. Your Honor,
Okay, that noise is a good breaking point. Sorry, I got work to do. I got to get courts going. I have to. It's my job. It's sort of my only job. Because obviously I can't edit very well. And I can't play the clips very well because I keep pausing them. But I can find the clips. That's what I can do. And Donald, I just read your last text. It's stressing me out. I looked it up. I looked up exactly what you told me to look up, and my stress level went shoo. Do you know what you just asked me to do? You have, whew. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending time in OJ with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought this wasn't as good as yesterday, but I thought today was pretty good too. And I'm telling you, wait till you see the next trial. I almost want to stop OJ, which I promise you I won't. But I'm just so excited to get to the next one that you have no idea. All right, guys. I hope you guys have a great, great, great day. And what is today? I don't know, but I think I'm streaming tomorrow. Bye, guys. Thanks.